How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night. It is the Earthmaster out here about 9:04 p.m. California time here, Friday night, December 20th, 2024. Winter solstice tomorrow. Making it tonight the longest night of the year. Goodness, after tomorrow there we start getting some longer days, if you like that. I actually preferably like the darkness early. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D Globe shows a little one-pointer. Also some movement out in Texas area. Louisiana seeing some movement as well. This is just to the east of the area of uncertain Texas, right? We're looking at this earthquake. Actually, it's within that area, it looks like. Maybe they revised it here. You guys remember a little bit of earthquake activity out here in the region. It's been adjusted in terms of the location here. Now, yeah, that's more on the Louisiana side here. In the last couple days, a little bit of a seismic uptick going on here. If you notice on the map, some oil fields out there. Actually, quite a few oil fields, so that's what's going on there. Some pressurization out in the area where these oil fields are being operated. Heavily vegetated out here on the map, so it's kind of hard to see where these oil fields and maybe some pumping operations are located. But a little bit of movement out there today, including a 3.1. Things across Texas starting to fill in as well across the area of these oil fields. There's just nothing but oil fields out here, and that's getting hit a little bit today. Also, New Madrid seismic zone showing some movement this afternoon as well, with a 2.1 earthquake right around the area of the New Madrid seismic zone. So things starting to kick up out here across the area of the country. West Coast seeing some elevated activity as well. Well off the coast of Oregon into the Blanco fracture zone, a 4.2 earthquake. Now, this is a strike-slip boundary here most of the time. That will add further strain out here in this general fashion like we've seen. Oh, has it been the last 30 days? Yeah. Earlier, back in November, we had a series of earthquakes here prior to the 7-pointer down south here. And that typically adds strain out against the southern end of the Cascadia. This earthquake a little bit further back along the Blanco fracture zone, but still got to watch that. That's furthering the continuation of strain within that region. Let's check out the tremor map here this evening, see what we have for Cascadia tremor. And then let's go over here to the tremor map. There we go. 0. Wow, this actually gone down completely here to 0 epicenters after some elevated activity out here. We'll continue to watch that, though. Sometimes it takes a few hours or a day or so to elevate the pressure out here across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone following activity like we've seen earlier this evening. As far as Northern California goes, a couple more earthquakes down there. One of the latest, a 3.3 in Petrolia. This was about, let's see here, stand by for a second. Let me zoom in. 3.3. I know we had a little bit larger movement down here as well. All right, maybe not. Maybe I'm seeing things here. But it looks like they may have downgraded one of these earthquakes to a 3.3. Couple 2s in there as well since this morning time period. A live look at the seismograph stations here. Not showing a whole lot of activity on the Petrolia station. That's offline, though, it looks like. So we'll continue to watch that. Definitely getting some movement out in Southern California here. We'll cover this here in a second. This is a little bit further south into the San Joaquin Valley at 3.7. Western side here of that region. Now, that area has seen a handful of earthquakes here outside the San Joaquin region here. Not for sure if there's any oil fields out there. Looks like a lot of farmland. I don't know what that is out there in this area. There might be some operations going on out there. That kind of looks like somebody's farm, but either way, a little bit of uptick going on across the west side of the San Joaquin Valley here with the latest quake of 3.7. Further down south, increasing activity as well, more notably across the area of the Salton Sea here. Now, this is on the Brawley seismic zone. It's an extensional plate boundary here of the San Andreas Fault and also a continental rift boundary. This is where a little section of land is thinner than the rest of the crust out here. That's basically pulling apart from each other from the North American and the Pacific plate. And humans, well, they like to tap into the heated areas below. And there's some geothermal operations going on down here, as noted from all the steam, wastewater out here. And those earthquakes, you know, just up the road here, it looks like. So continue to watch that. Doesn't look like we had any further activity following the events this morning. 40 earthquakes there in that swarm of activity this morning. Nothing since, so we'll watch that and see if things don't stir back up here. Overall, increasing activity there in the Southern California region today. 2.2 off the coast of San Diego. It's been pretty quiet down there, right? San Diego, just you really never hear about large earthquake activity around San Diego, even though there's a couple of fault systems out there. I'm kind of curious. I want to go do a little investigation here. See when our last, decent earthquake was out there around that region. Check out the earthquake catalog here from the USGS, just specifically the San Diego area, right? Cover maybe some of these troughs offshore. Right about there would be nice. Let's see what we have. Wow, look at this big one right here. 6.2. Yeah, that's a big one, right? Have you ever heard of a 6.2 in San Diego? Well, it happened back in 1862, to be exact, in the greater San Diego area, well before, before a major metropolitan area here. Looks like some movement back in early 1803 of 5.5. So this area can see some big-time earthquake activity. Look at that, 6.3 in the Gulf of Santa Catalina. That's offshore near the San Diego Trough. All three of these earthquakes here, a couple hundred years have passed since we've seen some activity out there. So San Diego, even though it's been, quiet, 1906 a 4.5, 1983 a 4.7. I guess that's one of the more recent ones, but that's not even, it's kind of offshore a little bit. 1990 a 4.5. But things can get bigger out here. Hundreds, no telling what the slip rate is on the trough zone here, or this series of faults here, the Newport Inglewood Rose Canyon fault zone. Number of different faults in that area. But it can get some big ones here, and something that the recent, San Diego hasn't experienced. 1862, a lot of time has passed. A lot of development has occurred. Interesting. All right. Either way, a little bit of activity there right now. We'll have to watch that. A little 2.2. Some movement up north around the San Jacinto and the close to the interchange here with the plate boundary. A couple smaller earthquakes in the one range. Aside from that, let's check out the rest of the area here. I mean, minimal activity through the mountain regions. There's the activity I discussed earlier. As far as anything major going in the Pacific, well, there's that little odd earthquake from last night there in the Maui area. Movement in Kilauea Volcano, somewhat minimal today. Only a handful of earthquakes out there. Nothing changing yet in terms of volcanic activity. See what we have on the earthquake 3D globe here. Some movement around the Japan Trench, Kuril-Kamchatka Trench area, 4.4. Aside from that, typical zones out here, seeing crunching going on all across the Philippines and the Indonesia Islands area. Pretty active over here across the region of New Zealand here recently. A lot of deeper activity. Very interesting, to say the least. I think hopefully not, but the Hikurangi subduction zone may be waking up there. Deeper activity into the Fiji region with that 4.8, 612 kilometers. That's a deep one there. that will set things into motion out here in the coming days in terms of elevated seismic activity. 5.0 across the Nepal area. That's going to be this earthquake right here. Earlier this afternoon, I was looking at the data out here, looking at when they had the last big one, so to speak, and that was well, this 8.6 was further over here around this bend north of the Myanmar region and the area. You can see it here on the map where that plate boundary kind of takes a loop more around the Nepal area. 8-pointer back in 1934, also a 7-pointer, 7.8 in 2015. So we've had some recent large activity. I'm not 100% certain if we'll see any larger events out here, at least in that segment, maybe up around this region. 7.9, 1905. A lot of older quake activity out here as well. It's a major region that sees, well, you can see some large earthquake activity. Quite a bit of strain out there around the Nepal area recently. Last 30 days of earthquake activity shows some of that movement, with the largest there being that 5-pointer today. All right, what do we got? A couple smaller quakes out in this area. That's going to be, looks like around the west of the Caspian Sea region, it looks like. Atlantic Ocean, 4.9 out there in the rift boundary. Oceanic rift zone. 2.0 coming in right now to the Alaska area. Pretty active. Definitely pretty active out here. Definitely getting a notable uptick in worldwide earthquake activity here. So we'll keep an eye on things and see what the plates want to do here this weekend. Space weather activity. A little sea flare activity right now. C2.1 it looks like. From a far side. Yeah, is this a recent image? Yeah, it is. 1221. Out there on the western limb, it looks like. We do have a number of active areas on the eastern limb coming around the bend as well. Overall threat is increasing here due to the dynamic sunspots. 10% chance for the X flare. M flare at 65. C flare around 99% chance or so. And no major roars in the forecast there for now, folks. You look at the numerical models out here showing the weather patterns. Well, we got some more rain coming into the Northern California area early tomorrow morning, and that's going to open up the door for several other storm systems here. Look at that one. That one is a dandy of a system there early Christmas Eve morning. That's some impressive rainfall rates right there. Goodness. And that will continue there, looks like, before another storm system slams in behind that. And it's just it's a series of storm systems, it looks like. So one thing I'm noting, though, and this weather model is trending as well, is a massive invasion of cold air from the north. Look at these temperature anomalies here as we head into January time period. A lot of cold air seeping down into the country. Look at that, massive. That's a huge departure there from normal average temperatures, maybe 30 degrees below the average temperatures for this time of year. So we'll have to watch that, see how things play out. Those patterns can play a major part in severe weather out here across the country. All right, seismograph stations all online, and they look pretty quiet for now. You guys have a good weekend. We'll definitely talk to you sometime tomorrow morning, unless we get woken up in the middle of the night by a earthquake warning. Who knows? Anything can happen at any time. That's why it's good to be prepared, folks. Have yourself a good day. We'll see you guys back out here in the morning.